Well, hello, everyone. This is TexAgs Rewind. I am David Nuno. Very happy today because the Aggies won on Saturday, and on this show, I like to do that. So during the show, Billy asked a question that we had our stats team, and that's Nick Savage, by the way, kind of research. We know that Jimbo in his 5 years at Texas A&M has 4 top 13 victories in his time here. So he asked a question, how far back do we have to go between top wins before Jimbo arrived here in Aggie land? So Nick Savage did some of that research. You got a couple different things to look at, right, Nick?
Yeah, exactly. So going back from 2017 back, the last 4 top 10 wins came 2016, Tennessee number 9, 2014, South Carolina number 9, and Auburn number 3 in that same 2014 season. In 2012, Bama, we all remember that one, number 1. That was their 4 top 10 wins. Jimbo has 7 top 13 wins, and we had to go all the way back to 2010 to find that. I'll take it from 2012. They beat OU, number 12 in the Cotton Bowl, and then in 2010, number 11 OU and number 9 Nebraska.
All right, so our dude is getting some big wins when it matters the most. So we talked about that during the show today. We also had Go Hour, What We Learned, Loved, and Loathed. That's OB's column. We kind of brought it to radio. Billy Liucci on this rivalry with Arkansas. It is a rivalry, and he breaks that all down. Tom Hart of the SEC Network. And parity in college football, we're seeing quite a bit of it. Look at all the teams that are losing, have lost this past week. Look at the Big 12 right now. Look at everything in the top 25. That and more right here on your TexAgs Rewind. You learned 3 major things here about this team, but one of those is Chris Russell can play some football.
I thought he struggled in his first game last week against Miami, but man, did he redeem himself. What did he have, about 10 tackles? Mm-hmm. Had a sack. It was great. It was pretty too. Come up and hit KJ Jefferson in the chest and kind of slung him down. Almost had an interception. Would have been a pick 6. I rewatched the game last night. Had the ball been actually thrown well, it's a pick 6. And force that fumble. And Chris Russell, I don't know if they give out game balls, but they should have gave him 2.
Evan Stewart, pretty good.
Evan Stewart played well. Didn't have huge numbers, but made a heck of a catch on the adjustment on the touchdown.
Yeah.
Of course, it was good under the circumstances. Really good throw by Max too, but he didn't have a lot of time to say, okay, I got to make sure I put it here. He had a linebacker up in his face, but he got it. He got it in the general vicinity, and Evan Stewart made the adjustment and made a touchdown. I had another what could have been a big gain, but there was a penalty on it.
And how about Donovan Green, especially on that third down?
Donovan Green. Donovan Green could be moving forward the guy that saves a little or picks up a lot of the production that you're going to lose from Ainias. Now, I don't know. He can't, again, replace, I don't think, the intangible factors that Ainias gives you. But here's a guy that's becoming another option in the passing game and not just okay. I mean, he's making plays.
Yep.
I think you got to start looking more for Donovan Green, especially now that you don't have Ainias.
Yeah, no, he's pretty special, and these guys are figuring it out, and I think that is something that we all should really take. Like the younger players are starting to feel like they've played enough games and enough plays that they're starting to figure it out. Let's quickly go through Loved. We did the 97-yard touchdown. We did Devon A. Chain, but you got to love beating Arkansas.
Of course. Especially after last year when they won for the first time in 10 years, and you would think that they've just owned the series.
Yeah.
And now, look, you win, you're supposed to celebrate. I get that, but then the attitude was, all of a sudden, like your friend said, all of a sudden Sam Pittman's a better coach, and everything about Arkansas is better, and da-da-da-da. So to go out and beat Arkansas, and then an Arkansas team that's actually really good and ranked at the time number 10, you got to love beating Arkansas anyway. Because why? Because they hate you so much. You saw the guy up in the radio guy or podcast guy that just trashed everything A&M and College Station unprovoked. And now he had to go home and take that long drive home, wallowing, because that's what pigs do. They wallow, right?
Yeah.
Wallowing in the mud of misery. And I love that.
I do too. Let's do one loathe real quick. The the missed opportunities.
Yeah, there was just so, again, we talked about the long pass. It was there. That was a missed opportunity. I think there was, some penalties. Maybe there could have been some opportunities, if not for penalties that were pre-snap. I remember they ran a really nice play. They were showing the short yardage package that they got the touchdown on with L.J. Johnson.
Yeah.
And instead, play actioned out to Ernest Crownover for an 8-yard gain early.
Yep.
And first down, but there was a penalty. So there's a lot of missed opportunities, and you just got to clean that up. Your offense is not good enough to be able to have all these penalties and say, okay, well, we'll pick it up again this time.
I mean, this team is showing something, and I would say a lot of Jimbo Fisher teams have shown this. It's kind of one of his, I think, a calling card. Everybody wants to parse through what's good and what's bad. And one of the things that you can always say, his teams are resilient, and they battle back. They don't quit. They fight you. Gosh, it was looking bad through a quarter. That was about as bad a quarter. It's 14-0. They have the ball with a chance to go up, I believe, 21-0. They did. They're moving up and down the field on you. It was 14-0, and it was like 170-28 in total yards before A&M got a first down.
Mm-hmm.
The Aggies looked frustrated. Arkansas was once again looked like the aggressor on both sides of the ball. I got to admit, I was sitting there going, you can't. Like, how can this happen 2 years in a row? You knew but the way A&M turned that game on a dime, and I heard you when I walked in, and the two plays we all know that stand out. But they didn't happen back-to-back either. A-Chain made the run. They had that great 63-yard run. They ended up scoring after that. They had to finish off the drive. But then Arkansas went right back down the field. And if I'm not mistaken, they may have even converted a fourth down on that drive.
That sounds right, yeah.
I think Pittman went for it.
Wasn't it a 3rd and 15? They got to 1 and 4th and 1.
And they went for it around midfield. It might not even been 4th and 1. It might have been more like a 4th and 2. Like, it was whatever it wasn't like a gift.
Right.
I thought they would punt. I thought for sure they would punt. They drive down. On that 4th down play, I think he scrambled for some pretty good yards, and then they got down really quickly. He hit Hazelwood on a wide open pass. He got down to like the 1 or 2. I want to say the 4, but that's where he jumped from. They were at the 1 or 2. Jefferson tries that jump, fumble, pitch back, touchdown, rest is history. And then they still had to hang on in that game's seen a lot, Nuno. That was the craziest one of the entire series. And it's been a crazy series. It's a rivalry. I'm writing about that today. It's a rivalry. I'm going to miss the game in Jerry World. I'm not going to miss – I want to see the home and home. I'm certainly going to love having an extra home game against them every other year. I'll enjoy trips to Fayetteville. Sure. But that atmosphere the other night was loud. It was fun for both sides. I get it. I want it home and home. But I have enjoyed thoroughly that rivalry. And a big part of it is because A&M almost always wins. But the way they came back in that game kind of reminds me of how they've come back in this season so far. I mean, and it reminds you of how they came back last year after losing to Arkansas and Mississippi State, coming back to beat Bama and kind of righted the ship before they couldn't finish off a couple at the end. But that game reminds me of this season. They fell behind. Everyone had written them off. They were done 14-0 after a quarter. It felt like they were on their way to 38-14 kind of game. I mean, it felt like, man, Arkansas is doing what they want here. This has never happened in this rivalry to this extent. I know they were up 17-0 quickly in that other one, but the Aggies, kind of got their footing. But yeah, it felt like a here we go again type of thing. They were rolling, and A&M had two, I think, what we might look back on as season-turning plays. Season-defining, season-turning plays. There's a lot of work to do. But I think if A&M can ride that momentum from this week into Starkville and win that game, regardless of what happens in Tuscaloosa, and get to that bye week, I think those two plays you can look back on. And, of course, the field goal, hitting the top of the upright, just turning point defining moments in a season for a team. Everyone had written A&M off for dead after App State. They got a lot of criticism, deserved criticism. Okay, so I keep bringing it up because I know the people listen. They're like, literally adult, like tattletales. And I like to say it because I know you're listening to the show. And let's be really clear. I don't like you for what you do, but and if you have a problem with that, you know where I'm at. You know how to get me. Remember that. But here's my deal. They deserved criticism and harsh criticism after App State. We were fair. I think maybe on Saturday night, right after, emotional, which I don't like to be. Yeah. I don't like to be like, hey, you lost the game. I'm offended by that. You hurt me. I'm an Aggie. That hurt. We got to turn that off a little bit.
Yep.
But what was said, 1,000% fair, and far less than things like the 3-hour commercial that Game Day did ridiculing you on Saturday. And sure enough, everybody will kiss Kirk Herbstreit's ass when he shows up here to do the game.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was leading to. Is he has that big playability. I mean, Aggies know that based on what he did in the game in Baton Rouge last year, right? A&M's dead last in total offense in the league, dead last in touchdowns in the league, down there in first downs, down there in rushing offense. All of that being said, so that puts a lot of pressure on your defense, right? Well, the SEC, as we know, over the last 6 years, really since Lane got to Alabama, when Lane went to Alabama, he changed who he was as a play caller. He changed who Nick Saban was overall, as in terms of offensive versus defensive coach. They're still elite defensively, don't get me wrong. But he changed the structure of everybody in this league in terms of scoring points. There are 4 teams in the SEC averaging better than 40 points a game. So you're not going to be in a shootout every week, but to beat the best, you got to score points. Yep. And I think that's where the next step has to come from this A&M team. Where can we how can we help our defense by scoring some points? And we saw Saturday, the defense just said, hey, we'll help ourselves. We'll take it the rest of the way.
They've been a bend but don't break. And that, as you pointed out, that's not going to fly in the long term. When the end game of a successful season is like 10-2 or better for this program. After losing App State, I think you reevaluate and say, if this team was able to get to 9 wins and go 6-2 in the league, it would be a hell of a in-season turnaround story. To get there, though, you are going to have to win a couple. I don't think A&M has to score in the 40s to win some kind of shootout, but I do think a couple times, you might have to win a 35-31, 34-30 type game, and we haven't seen it yet. I did say all along I thought they'd have to scrap through these first 4-5 games before Bama. I still feel that way even about this weekend. I think they're going to have to, if they win, they have to scrap through. But I did think we'd see more from this offense before that. I really did.
Can we talk about – parity is not the right word, but what we're seeing in college football right now, from week to week, we are seeing really good teams lose to teams that you would not expect them to lose. It's not just A&M App State anymore. You've seen a bunch of these things happen. Maybe that was the first one that caught national attention, but –
well, on the same day, Marshall beat one at Notre Dame too.
Right, yeah.
Look, I'm not trying to explain it away. Again, like I said, App State's that close to being a 1-3 football team with their only win against A&M. They're a Hail Mary away from that. But it did happen in Notre Dame. You see things like where Kansas is going to do that to some teams this year. You see that. That's a good Kansas. By their standards, that's a good team, but they're going to beat some teams. You see, we've seen near misses in the past, but like Kansas State, they're good enough to beat OU in Norman, which they always do. What a loudmouth fan base this offseason. Where's the guy? What's his name? The guy, I don't even remember his name, the old linebacker. Was it Rocky? I don't remember if it was Rocky Count. Was the other guy? Oh, Teddy Lehman. Spent some point in the offseason, like, I forget I don't even remember what he said, but he's like, quote, tweeted me and was running. How's he feel today?
Right.
They can't beat Kansas State at OU. They tried to tell you that the Brent Venables, Dylan Gabriel thing was better than Lincoln Riley and Caleb Williams. We spent years hearing about the speed D in Norman, and which always made me laugh because that tells me no physicality and a crappy defense. Alex Grinch was a savior. Now he's terrible, and you got Venables, so no one can do anything to you. But then Adrian Martinez humiliates you. And Kansas State. Guess what Kansas State did a week ago? They lost at home to Tulane. So, yeah, it's going around. USC was unstoppable, right? They didn't even cross the goal line until the fourth quarter against Oregon State the other day. And I know Oregon State is a much improved team this year, but still, I mean, this is where we're at college football. As UCLA almost lost one of those games earlier, a couple weeks ago, 2 weeks ago, I think. But it's not only that, David. It's going to be within conferences what you start to see in terms of within the conferences, because it is parity, and there are only 2 or 3 great teams. And like I said about Alabama, I think they are way down last year and this year of what they've been. And I still think they're one of the 3 best, along with Ohio State, obviously Georgia. But they are way down from what they've been. That's why Alabama 8, I think, of their last 11 games against quality opposition. SEC games minus this weekend's against Vandy. Throw Vandy out. But SEC games plus Texas. So their last 8 SEC games last year, 2 against Georgia and Texas. 11 of those games, I think 8 of them were decided midway through the fourth quarter or later. And they've lost 2 of them. There's nothing wrong with that. But that's where Bama, what they are now versus go back and find the last 8 times an Alabama game was decided in the fourth quarter. You probably have to go back. You might not have 8 from the start of the Saban, after the first 2 years, let's say. But you're going to see these conferences just in these races, just everybody's going to ravage each other. Look at the SEC. Look at A&M, Arkansas the other day, and you're going to see that throughout the SEC West. So is A&M going to beat Arkansas, lose to Mississippi State, beat Bama, lose to, Ole Miss, beat LSU? I don't know, but you're going to see the SEC eat its own. Outside of, I believe, Georgia, and I think Bama loses a regular season game in conference this year, and they don't play Georgia. Hell, they did last year. The Big 12, I'm really going to enjoy watching that league. What the heck's going to happen there?
So I got to be very honest. I gave you guys a word the other day on Friday. I don't remember that word. I don't think I've responded to you who put that word out there. Was it you, Nick, who chose the word?
I remember the word.
What was the word?
It was Han Solo.
Oh, no, I do remember. So I responded to some people. Have you responded to any of the people on YouTube yet?
I have not.
Okay.
I'll get on that.
You got to do that today. You got to tell them.
I will spin from 11:02
to 11:09.
Yeah, till this show starts tomorrow.
And then what's our word for today to give people some love?
Give me a category.
How about you put this? What did Tomas sing on the air? Give it to me, baby?
Yeah.
Give it to me, baby. Put that, and I'll make Tomas respond to you. How about that? Give it to me, baby. Like, comment, subscribe, do all the things you normally do. Thanks so much for watching TexAgs Rewind.